fire her if she didn't comply. He had even pulled down his pants. Just then, we broke into the room with cameras. My boss was so shocked that he started running and tried to jump through the window, which only left him injured in one leg. He was arrested by the police outside. That evening, news spread that a boss was caught half naked trying to escape, and pictures and videos of my boss were shown on the news. Together with the other ladies, we pressed charges of sexual assault against him. My name's Diane, and I'm 30 years of age. I got my new job 5 years after college. Life after college hadn't been all rosy. I'd tried so much to find good jobs, but it seemed as though all my efforts were in vain. All I could get were menial jobs in places where I wasn't even treated well. I got a job as a waitress at a restaurant 3 years ago. The pay was quite good, but it would only sustain a high school student. I had no choice but to take it, as I couldn't afford to be jobless. I regretted it and wished I never took it in the first place. Not only did the owner not pay regularly, the customers were always very rude to me. Once, a customer had thrown her plate of pasta at me because I'd wasted a minute getting her drink to her table. Of course, I was made to apologize to her. Even though she was in the wrong, I apologized. After that incident, I'd wanted to leave, but the thought of having to stress for another job held me there. The incident that made me leave was even worse than the first. The customer had poured her hot sauce on my face because she thought I was flirting with her husband. Luckily, it didn't touch my eyes. I had to leave because I didn't want to experience something worse. I asked for my salary, but the owner refused to pay me. According to him, I'd brought too much bad luck to his restaurant, and giving me his money would bring him more bad luck. When I tried to argue, he pushed me out of his restaurant. He was way bigger than my petite self, so it was easy for him to lift me and dump me outside. I got another job at a coffee shop, but that was even worse. A customer nearly burned my skin with hot coffee because I tried to settle a quarrel between her and my colleague. She even threatened to sue me, simply because I held her back from attacking the girl. My boss asked me to apologize and leave. With tears in my eyes, I obeyed. I didn't get another job in quite a long time. My friends felt bad for me, seeing the toll it took on me, not having a source of income. I tried to find jobs online, but the good ones I came across required specific ages to be employed. I was always not in the range. That increased my frustration even more. I had great business ideas and would start one, but I didn't have the capital. I couldn't bring myself to borrow from my friends, as I wasn't sure of how it would go. I didn't want to lose their trust by letting their money go to waste. I would request for a loan from the bank, but there was no way they would give me a loan without a job. Despite knowing that, I still decided to try my luck.
Do you have anything to use as a collateral? Maybe a house or something?
I felt embarrassed. Did he seriously think I'd go for a loan if I had a house? I told him I didn't have any properties.
I'm sorry, miss, but we can't grant you a loan. You're jobless and have no properties. You need to have something to do to help us grant you a loan.
I left the bank with my heart heavy with sadness. When I returned home, all I could do was sleep. I woke up the next day, my stomach grumbling in hunger, my bank account bleeding. By afternoon, my body had started trembling. I was forced to call my best friend. She reprimanded me for not calling her earlier before quickly sending me some money which I used to get some food. I didn't want to live such a life. I didn't want to depend on people to survive. After eating, I grabbed my laptop and began roaming the internet for a job. I sent my application to so many companies that had vacant posts, not even caring about what post was available. All I wanted was a job. Luck shined on me, and I was able to secure 2 interviews at 2 marketing companies. One needed a marketing manager who would need to be at the office daily, except on Sundays, and the second needed a social media marketer who could work from home on some days. The pay of the first one was bigger than the second one, but the second seemed more comfortable. Nevertheless, I attended both interviews. Good fortune seemed to be on my side after a very long time, as both companies accepted me. I knew I would have to reject one of them. I weighed the options. I didn't need comfort at that moment. I needed a well-paying job, and the first one seemed to be the best option. I politely rejected the second job and took the first one. At first, I was feeling good with it. The job was going smoothly, and my colleagues were nice and easy to work with. It wasn't a 9 to 5 as they'd written in the description. It was an 8 to 3 job. It was quite demanding, as I had to come up with different ideas daily, but I didn't mind. My first pay had covered all of the discomfort. I was able to start saving up from the second month, as I still hadn't given up on starting a business. I also thought my boss was a nice man. Regularly, he would buy my team food and even got us refreshing drinks on busy days. I noticed that quite a lot of the ladies hated him, but I couldn't imagine what the reason would be. To me, he was a great man who cared very much about his workers. One day, he brought us drinks as usual and stood before my desk.
Is it too tiring? Would you like to get rest for a few minutes?
Oh, never mind, sir. I can't leave the job to the others. Thank you so much for your concern. How could a nice man like him be hated by the ladies? I wondered. One day, I spoke to one of them who was on my team. I told her to come with me to the cafeteria, and there I'd asked her what the cause of the hatred was. She hesitated for a moment before she eventually voiced it out to me.
He's an evil man, Diane. He sexually assaults his female workers. If he has his eyes on you, he lures you in and tries to get you to have sex with him. If you don't agree, he's gonna fire you.
I couldn't believe my ears. She went on to explain how he'd slept with many ladies in the company without their full consent. Due to the lack of good jobs, they had to agree to keep their jobs. I didn't want to hate him based on just that, but it also sounded too real to be false. After the conversation with her, I spoke to 4 other ladies, all on different occasions, and they confirmed it was true. I began to grow hatred for him from then. I got our team snacks before he could bring in food, so we were able to stop him from doing that. Another teammate took over the drinks, so he had no more reason to visit our department regularly. However, he still found his way. He could come in and ask if all's going well. Whenever he came to my desk, I politely gave him cold shoulders to avoid speaking to him. I was able to gather all of the ladies he'd manipulated into having sex with him. He had to be punished for it. Luckily, most of them had sensibly recorded their conversations with him, and I couldn't be happier. I knew I was putting our jobs at risk, but we couldn't afford to have him victimize more people. I also hoped he wouldn't get the time to do it to me before he got reported, but I couldn't have it that way. The next day, I was called into his office.
Diane, you're so beautiful. I would love to promote you to a higher position because you deserve it.
I was recording our conversation. Thank you, sir, but I don't think it's necessary. I'm fine with my current position. I knew he wouldn't let me go that easily. He stood up and came to me, running his finger against my skin. I tried to push his hand off, but he brought his finger back to my face.
Just one night together, and I'm gonna give you whatever position you desire. I'll book a hotel for us. I'll get you a house, a new car, whatever you want, Diane. Have one night with me.
I stood up and he did too, grabbing me by my arms. Let me go. I tried to free myself, but he was too strong. He was trying to kiss me. I felt a rush of adrenaline. I couldn't let his disgusting lips touch mine. Get away from me, pervert. Don't you dare touch me.
How dare you push me? I'm gonna punish you for this. I swear to you. Get out of my office.
I walked out of the office, the whole thing recorded. I kept the evidence. A few weeks later, my boss asked one of the new female employees to meet him for a brief meeting at a hotel. When she told us about the meeting, we became suspicious. We knew what the boss was capable of, so we came up with a plan. On the day of the meeting, she went to meet my boss while another colleague and I notified the police about our suspicion, and even showed them the recordings I had. When the new employee got to the hotel, my boss asked her to get a room. We had told her to comply and assured her that we had her back. She did as my boss said, and while in the room, he started harassing her and threatening to fire her if she didn't comply. He had even pulled down his pants. Just then, we broke into the room with cameras. My boss was so shocked that he started running and tried to jump through the window, which only left him injured in one leg. He was arrested by the police outside. That evening, news spread that a boss was caught half-naked trying to escape, and pictures and videos of my boss were shown on the news. Together with the other ladies, we pressed charges of sexual assault against him. One even said he gave her syphilis. The guys at the control room were with us. They fetched the recordings of him seducing several from the CCTV camera and gave it to the police. The other ladies also presented their recordings as evidence. He was found guilty as charged and was sentenced to 30 years imprisonment. In addition, the court made him compensate us. His bank accounts were empty. The money recovered was a whole lot and was shared among us all. My boss was fired by the board and his wife divorced him. I had more than enough money to fund my business. However, I didn't think 30 years was enough to make him feel the punishment. I was allowed to visit him in jail. However, I didn't see him. Instead, I spoke to some of the wardens. I paid them to torture him intensely, especially his private part. The next time I saw him, he has bruises all over his body. Also, he was limping. But it wasn't as a result of injured legs. It was something more intense. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel for more stories.